What's up, tribe? Just when you thought things couldn't get any more weird, Facebook has decided that God is rated R for restricted. I'm Yehuda Katz. This is the Tribecast at tribejournal.org. So basically the way it works is Facebook flags content that might be, quote, sensitive content. This photo may show violent or graphic content. I clicked on see photo, and it shows two cute, adorable boys in overalls in a somewhat black and white photo, like an old school photo. And it says, quote, "Sometimes I just look up and smile and say, I know that was you, God. Thank you." Yeah, you're right to be confused. There's nothing wrong with this photo. In fact, this photo is beautiful and inspirational. There is nothing wrong with this photo. The question we're all thinking is, why is this happening? And we've been thinking that for a while now. But when you click on Learn More, why is this photo covered? Facebook gives you three choices here. Now, let's play a game, okay? This is called You Decide What They're Thinking. And you figure out what they're thinking. I don't know. The first one is, this photo doesn't go against our community standards, but it may show graphic content. Now, I don't know about you. Graphic content? I think we've seen a lot more graphic content on Facebook that has not been flagged. A lot more. Number two, we use either technology or a review team to identify content that should be covered. Who in their right mind would flag this? Let's say it's bots. Let's say there's bots that all attacked it at a concerted effort to trigger the switch. If it was triggered like that, if it was really something to be alarmed about, it would have been taken down for review. And that's the second part of this second option, which is a review team would identify content that should be covered. Is it possible that there is a review team that would decide that this is something that should be covered? What is going on here? I mean, Facebook doesn't tell us who is making these calls. There's going to be no answers. There's no accountability. A potential reason why this was sensitive content, because it shows violent or graphic content, is because of a team deciding it. I mean, I think it's unlikely, but I have no other rational explanation. Again, this is all speculation. I'm speculating here, but how else would this be covered content? Why is this flagged and maintained as flagged as sensitive content? The third option is we cover graphic content so people can choose whether to see it. We cover graphic content so people can choose whether to see it. So this could be considered graphic. I don't think it's too graphic. It's two brothers or something like thanking God. I mean, what is graphic here? I can't imagine that this is going to hold water under the category of graphic content so people can choose whether to see it. It seems as though the only option would be that someone at Facebook actually flagged this as restricted. This opens up a whole Pandora's box on Facebook in general, because when you go back to Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, it was designed to prevent companies like Facebook from being sued. The protection that Congress gave internet companies, platforms specifically, is that they should not be considered publishers like media, like Time Magazine or CNN, who just got, they had a major lawsuit for defamation and whatnot. Rather, it would be a platform, not a publisher. And because it's a platform, it is given this freedom to help the internet grow, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We now have a House of Representatives and a Senate and a White House that are working to reel in Section 230. It's fascinating to watch how Facebook has changed just in the past 6 months, since January, how much they have changed in their censorship. I mean, go to tribejournal.org. You can see a number of examples there. The challenge that Facebook knows they have, Congress knows they have, and the world is learning they have, is how do you police these things? In other words, if you could trigger the switch, then anything gets triggered, and then you are left to a team to determine what is appropriate and what is not, what is offensive and what is not, what should be covered so people can choose whether to see it, and what should be open for everybody to see at any time. So this is the big issue. If you want to go on a limb with me, check out this conversation from Noah Yuval Harari. He sits down with Mark Zuckerberg. There are a number of excerpts I'm going to play for you now to give you an idea of Mark's response to some of the pushback. Take a look at these clips.
I think people really don't like and are very distrustful when they feel like they're being told what to do or just have a single option. One of the big questions that we've studied is how to address when there's a hoax or clear misinformation. And the most obvious thing that it would seem like you do intuitively is tell people, hey, this seems like it's wrong. Mm-hmm. Here is the other point of view that is right. Or at least, if it's a polarized thing, even if it's not clear what's wrong and what's right, here's the other point of view. If you're on any given issue. And that really doesn't work, right? So what ends up happening is if you tell people that something is false, but they believe it, then they just end up not trusting you, right? So that ends up not working. And if you frame two things as opposites, right? So if you say, okay, well, you're a person who doesn't believe in, you're seeing content about not believing in climate change, mm-hmm. So I'm going to show you the other perspective, right? Here's something that argues that climate change is a thing. That actually just entrenches you further, mm-hmm. Because it's, okay, someone's trying to kind of control. Okay, so what ends up working, right, sociologically and psychologically, the thing that ends up actually being effective is giving people a range of choices. So if you show not, here's the other opinion and with a judgment on the piece of content that a person engaged with, but instead you show a series of related articles, right, or content, then people can kind of work out for themselves, hey, here's the range of different opinions or things that exist on this topic. And maybe I lean in one direction or the other, but I'm kind of going to work out for myself where I want to be. Most people don't choose the most extreme thing. And people end up feeling like they're informed and can make a good decision. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, I think that's the architecture and the responsibility that we have, is to make sure that the work that we're doing gives people more choices, that it's not a single opinion that can kind of dominate anyone's thinking, mm-hmm. But where you can connect to hundreds of different friends, and even if most of your friends share your religion or your political ideology, you're probably going to have 5 or 10% of friends who come from a different background, who have different ideas, and at least that's getting in as well. So you're getting a broader range of views.
The amount of diversity in the human race is endless. What happens when you have a small group of people determining what stays up and what comes down? And so I don't know if this was a mistake, or this was a prank, or this was a someone overreaching their job description. But the bottom line is, it's definitely a piece of evidence that shows how powerful Facebook really is. When someone can censor a photo of 2 boys looking up to the heavens and saying, "Thank you, God," the society is going through a major transformation. Religion is a very personal matter, of course, but when it can't be publicly discussed, there are only a few options after that. See, human beings are not created with empathy. No baby is empathetic, right? A lion is not empathetic to its prey. And a human being, when it's born, has to develop their intellect, has to develop their ability to empathize with other creatures. And so, without fear of consequence, each person would swallow their neighbor alive. You have basically 2 choices. You can fear the government, consequences, going to jail if you do a crime, or you can fear God. When you remove God from the equation, you're left with one consequence. You're left with one choice, as far as I can tell. Tell me in the comments if you think I'm wrong. Would love to hear your thoughts. They say there's no atheist in the foxhole, but that doesn't mean that you have to wait until you're in a foxhole to contemplate God. I'm Yehuda Katz. You're watching the newsfeed at tribejournal.org. What's up, friends? You speak, we listen. We're going to be sending out episodes via email now. We can keep in touch at tribejournal.org. Go over there now and subscribe. Looking forward to seeing you in the comments.